There's no other feeling like it in the world when you walk out of a movie theater after watching a great movie. And the fact that it's a Robbie Williams biopic in which he is shown to be a monkey. There's nothing like movies, man. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Better Man. With one of the most bizarre mainstream ideas in a while. It's like I said, it's a musical biopic about Robbie Williams, and he plays himself as a CGI monkey. The best part is that it actually works and is needed. I know many people were tired of this trailer playing before a lot of movies, and the trailer and a lot of the promotional material, I mean, it's a bizarre idea, and to get a lot of people kind of interested in it, it had to take a big swing with this gimmick. But I promise you, after watching the movie, it doesn't feel like a gimmick. And some way, somehow, this is genuinely one of my favorite movies of 2024. It's going wide release this weekend, and it had a very limited release at the end of last year. But the fact that this is just one of the best movies of all of last year, I mean, I'm baffled by it a little bit. Like, I'm so glad a big swing like this is actually pretty dang good. As soon as the movie ended, I turned to my friend who also loved it, and we just kind of sat there in disbelief on whether or not we actually loved the movie. We did. We love the movie, but it's kind of hilarious how much we actually got into the film. One of the best things about this movie is that it's able to take a bizarre concept but still ground it in such a way that you not only find it believable and you kind of forget it as a gimmick, but it works in its favor. There's so many things this film is just genuinely not afraid to do. Of course, obviously having the main character be a monkey, but also just in its musical numbers, there's lavish long takes in this, and it's also not afraid to just be, not necessarily weird, but be surreal in its visuals and how it decides to tell its story. At the end of the day, this is a musical biopic, and we've seen so many of them by now. At least I know I have, and I mean, even that's come out last year with The Complete Unknown. And there are very similar beats, and so many of them, but this decides to go about it in such a fresh way that even, yes, there's the drugs, sex, and alcohol, and the ups and downs of being a star and having made it from nothing. There is a lot of that in this, and it's not to take away from, these actual artists who actually gone through those harrowing things, but so many of these biopics tend to tell the same story just with a new person, and this does it in such a way that I actually love. The way it's able to not only do its musical numbers in such a wonderful way, but how it's also just able to do transitions well, and how it's just able to tell things visually and have it actually impact you in such an interesting way. This takes the idea of what a movie can be and what you can do in the medium of film, and it has fun with it, while still also maintaining the tones of some truly harrowing and sorrowful stuff. Truly is impressive how this movie manages to just, again, make you forget that the lead is a monkey, and yet it also doesn't make you forget that at all because you clearly see him all the time. But there's just a certain level of respect that this movie gives to itself, and therefore you have to give it too. And I genuinely think that if it were just an actor who was human playing Robbie Williams, I don't think a lot of this visually would work, which is kind of insane to say, but it's true. So much of this movie hinges on very unique transitions and just kind of shots that if it weren't for the monkey being there, some of it might have felt a little too uncanny. Also, the fact that this is a musical lends itself to another layer of not necessarily disbelief, but you just being able to just go with the flow. And it utilizes that to a great degree. Touching on the great musical numbers now, oh my goodness, the camera movements and just the liveliness in its cinematography and its choreography too. Genuinely, if Wicked was directed like this, Wicked would easily be just a fantastic film. Now, I already really like Wicked, but a big issue of mine was how it was directed, especially in its musical numbers. Whereas with this, oh my goodness, so many of its musical numbers are just ingrained in my head and make me want to rush to the theater to watch this again. On my drive home, I listened to the soundtrack just imagining the wonderful musical numbers in this. And I genuinely cannot wait to do that again because it's truly just so great. Moving on now to the overall energy of the film, it is a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, and honestly, it did not feel like that. Although this isn't a perfect movie, and there are certain areas where it's not that it grinds to a halt, but you feel it like, okay, it's having to tell this beat and then so we can move on to a greater point. But even then, those moments are so few and far between that so much of this film, I really do enjoy it. I know this is a bizarre concept for most, and a lot of people proven to not really like musicals already, unless it's Wicked. But I promise you, if you're open-minded and you give this movie a chance and you just let it take you along for the ride, you are going to enjoy one of the greatest experiences of 2024 films. I do really mean this when I say it. It's probably the best surprise to come from last year. Also, I gotta say, I love the final line in this movie. I mean, the final couple of lines. One major thing not only about this movie, but about Robbie Williams that comes through this movie perfectly and sums up him as a person and character perfectly is that final line. I won't say it here because I do think it's worth the wait to see what it is and just the audacity of him going for that ending. It's nothing mind-blowing, so I hope I'm not like, setting expectations way too high, but it's a perfect ending for this movie. And overall too, at the end of the day, that's what this movie is. It's personality at its finest. And the fact that we are going to have to grapple with the unsettling fact that Bohemian Rhapsody got nominated for Best Picture and this won't get nominated for Best Picture, it's upsetting. And what's even more upsetting is that there's another musical that's getting nominated for a bunch of things that doesn't deserve a lot of these nominations, and this will be ignored for the entirety of award season, and it hurts, and I am upset. And I'm not talking about Wicked, I'm talking about the other one that shares a last name with me. But hey, no matter how good this movie does in its box office, especially with the reports that are already out saying that this is going to be one of the biggest flops ever, I think that this is going to grow into a cult classic, and deservedly so. I mean, I already really enjoy the movie. Just go in with an open mind. I promise you, even if it's not your favorite movie of all time, you'll still enjoy yourself, and you'll still at least acknowledge the swing and the guts that it takes to put out a movie in this fashion, because it truly is so interesting and unique in a few of its ways of telling this story that we all know. Not necessarily of Robbie Williams specifically, but that we know from the majority of musician biopics. But I promise you, at the very least, you'll be entertained. So please go out and see this. I give Better Man a 4 out of 5 stars. It's genuinely so crazy to me how this is just one of my favorite movies of all of last year now, and I'm so upset I got to see this after my top 10 movies of last year, because this easily would have made it on the list. But alright, those are my thoughts on Better Man. If you've seen the movie, be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Also, if you know Robbie Williams as an artist, let me know what your favorite song of his is. I kind of want to get into his music now, which hey, that tells you the musical biopic worked. But alright, as always, thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.